Hello Year 3 and welcome to Week 1 Lesson 4 of reading, and we're going to start Chapter 2, which is called The Squire and the Outlaws of our Robin Hood book. Our learning objectives today will be to explore how the author creates a change of atmosphere and to understand new vocabulary from a classic tale. But first, have a think. Remember, you don't need to write anything down. What do you remember? So first, what is the setting at the beginning of the story? Who have we seen so far? Can you remember one description of the setting used by the author? And finally, what happened at the end of the chapter? Do you remember? It all changed, didn't it? What happened at the end of the chapter? Okay, pause the video now, think about those, and unpause when you're ready. Okay, this is what I wrote. So, the setting is Sherwood Forest. That's where we saw the man in the forest and his companion in that picture. And those are the two people who we've seen so far, the small man with his companion in the forest. The description, it said, even the leaves of the great oaks and beeches of Sherwood Forest seemed to barely to rustle in the soft breeze. So that gave you an idea that it was a very relaxed, calm day in the forest. But how did it change? What happened at the end? Then came the sound of hooves. 12 horsemen with arms and armour rode into the glade. So that showed us that the atmosphere changed and something might be about to happen. And that is the point where we got to. Before we move on, I want to point you in the direction of these words down here, because this is the vocabulary that we'll need today for today's lesson. So first of all, we have glade. Then we have squire. Outlaws. Chainmail, lance, uncrested, surcoat, priest, and anxiously. Let's move on. So first of all, let's have a look at the end of chapter 1 again. And remember, it's called The Beggar Spy. So have a think. What is a beggar? What is a spy? Try and come up with two definitions there. I want you to come up with a definition for beggar and a definition for spy. Okay, so pause the video now and give that a try. Let's have a look at mine in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I said that a beggar is a person, usually homeless, who lives by asking for money or food. It's usually said not with a very nice tone about it. So someone back then being called a beggar, it isn't a very nice thing to be called. A spy is a person working for someone else to secretly gain information about an enemy. So who do you think this beggar spy might be? Have we even seen them yet? And should they be trusted? Just have a think about those. You don't need to write anything down. Have a think about those questions. Who might the beggar spy be? Have we seen them yet? Should they be trusted? When you're done with that, let's turn to page 10 to finish the chapter again. But then came the sound of hooves. Sunlight flashed on arms and armour, and the wood pigeon flew off with flapping wings as 12 horsemen rode into the glade. So I want you to come up with an answer for this one. Look at the question. It says, how does the author create a change of mood or atmosphere? I've put some words up here that might help you come up with an answer. Sound of hooves, arms and armour, flapping wings, 12 horsemen. Okay, write a sentence for that in your books and unpause when you're ready. Okay, I hope you got a good sentence there. Let's move on to the next slide. I've got a big paragraph, if you've got anything that is involved in this paragraph here, then you've done very well. So if you haven't, you can easily steal some of my ideas there. It's fine. You don't need to write as much as this. Just one sentence would be fine. So I wrote that the author tries to capture the reader's senses by first changing what they can hear from a soft breeze to the sound of hooves. This creates tension or excitement for the reader, who must then read to find out what happened next. Sunlight flashed on arms and armour, and this shows us that the men riding the horses are carrying weapons because of arms and armour. The use of the word flashed means the atmosphere changes suddenly and without control. And the wood pigeon, who we heard was calling monotonously on the branch earlier, is caught by surprise and feels endangered because it flies off with flapping wings. There are also 12 horsemen, and if they're armed with weapons, it's probably not for a peaceful reason. Okay, any of that? Great. So what do you think arms and armour are? Try and come up with 2 definitions, one for each of those. So pause the video now, write a definition for arms, write a definition for armour, and unpause when you're ready. Okay, here are my definitions. So if you look at the pictures here, the top 5 pictures all show arms. Arms are weapons. So we've got sword, we've got a crossbow, and funnily enough, a crossbow is just like a bow, but you hold it to the side and you usually balance it on something. And you pull a string back, and then when you press the trigger, it lets go of the arrow and then it shoots. Now, a lot of soldiers used to have crossbows, and a lot of people who lived in the forest used to have longbows. And the thing about longbows is that they can shoot arrows a lot further than a crossbow can. We've got a staff here, and those are long sticks that people use to fight each other. And then we've got lances here, and usually those are held by knights on horseback. And this is a jousting competition here, where both knights ride towards each other, and they try and knock each other off with these lances, which were long sticks with a pointy end. And finally, armour are metal coverings worn by knights to protect their bodies in battle, as we can see here. Here is the vocabulary that we're going to need when we read the next part. So we've got glade, squire, outlaw, chainmail, and lance. So I want you to pause the video now and read those definitions that I have for you. Unpause when you're ready. Right, now you can move back to the last slide if you need to. You can rewind and play again, but I want you to match up those definitions to our new vocabulary there. And when you're ready, unpause the video and then you can check your answers with me. Okay, let's check the answers. So we can see that a glade is an open space in a wood or forest. You can see that a squire is a young nobleman who is assisting a knight. An outlaw is a person who's broken the law. Chainmail is a knight's armour. And a lance is a long wooden weapon with a pointed end. Okay, here are 4 other words that we'll need to know. So uncrested. If you look at the picture up here, we can see lots of different crests. Now a crest shows the castle or the lord that the knights are serving. So for example, the lord in this case is the Sheriff of Nottingham, okay? And the Sheriff of Nottingham will have a crest. So all of the men on their surcoats will wear this crest or badge, which will show that they belong or work for the Sheriff of Nottingham, okay? And this is a surcoat here, actually. This is a surcoat. If the surcoat does not have a crest, it's uncrested, then obviously it's very mysterious. Where have these men come from? A priest is a holy person here who is, they are able to carry out marriage ceremonies or burials of a religious occasion. And finally, the word anxiously, and we've got our emoji here, which shows you exactly what anxiously means. It means if you're worried about something. So there they are matched up. What I want you to do is think of a synonym, a word that means the same thing, for anxiously and write it down. What does it mean? So pause the video now, try that, and then unpause when you're ready. Right, the next part of the story, Chapter 2, The Squire and the Outlaws. Their leader was a young man dressed in chain mail. Although he carried a lance, his uncrested surcoat and shield showed that he was a knight's squire. A priest, a thin, pale-looking man, rode beside him. 10 men-at-arms sat patiently on their horses while their leaders talked. "Now which way shall we go, Robert?" asked the priest anxiously. "All these paths." Okay, and that's as far as we'll read today. So I want you to tell me, who was the young man? How do we know this from what he was wearing and carrying? Then I want you to tell me, what is a priest? That's a define activity, that one. And finally, infer, why do you think the priest is anxious? Okay, give those questions a try. Pause the video. Right, 3, 2, 1. Right, I hope you got some great answers there. Let's move on. So next time we're going to continue our adventure. So I want you to think, who is this squire? What does he want? Why does a priest travel with him? And then, if you want something else to do, look at those crests just there. Maybe at home with your colours and with your pencils, you want to draw and colour and make your own crest. We've today been able to fulfill these gems: retrieve, define, explore and infer. So you've done lots of great reading work and lots of great writing too. Well done everybody. Tune in tomorrow for our last reading session of the week and we'll see and continue our story of Robin Hood.